Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Tax Sale Insiders. I'm your host today. It's Brian Seidensticker. I'm the CEO of Tax Sale Resources. And with me is, I guess, first time on the show and definitely unique guest, Patrick Grimes. Patrick, thanks for hopping on with us.
Glad to be here, Brian. Very much enjoyed your presence at our Alternative Investing Mastery Series session on tax liens and deeds, and you did an outstanding job along with the other panelists. It was an awesome event, so appreciate you inviting me on your podcast.
It was very great experience, and I gotta hand it to you guys as far as the experience that went through. Just the organization that you guys had and putting that all together was immensely impressive. So definitely kudos to you and your team. It's kind of an interesting story how we got connected. I think you met a friend and partner down at you guys have an event. That one was in Phoenix or Scottsdale, Arizona, and eventually start off the conversation with, hey, I guess it was your audience that might have some interest in learning a little bit about tax sales, which led us to that podcast and really me presenting for you. But I learned a few things about you and what you guys do, which made me go, you know what, there's some things that our audience I think would find very interesting. And so I don't want to give away all the secrets quite yet, Patrick, but we'll get to some of that stuff. But in general, I like to kind of hear people's story, how they got to where they're at. Can you kind of just give us a little bit about your history?
Sure. Well, like probably many of your audience members, I was a high-paid, hardworking, extremely hardworking professional, educated out there, giving it the old college try. I was mechanical engineer doing machine design, automation, and robotics. And I was trying to figure out how to invest. I didn't come from money. My family, we were fairly humble upbringings, but I was, started to save. And so I talked to the founder of the company I work for, and it's like, hey, where should I invest? And I thought, because we were doing like gizmos and gadgets for, R&D groups of really cool medical device, aerospace. I mean, I've done solar cell stuff, all kinds of really neat. And I thought he was going to say, well, go invest here. We kind of have the insider track on this or that, or this startup. And, and he didn't at all. In fact, he said, go invest outside of high tech. And his only regret was not buying more real estate sooner. I was just floored because he is a highly respected titan in my world of the industry, successful founder, built this extremely awesome company. And now he's just like, make all your money high tech and spend it in alternatives. That's what got me pointed in the right direction. Roughly in the right direction. I didn't hit the bullseye on my first investment. I missed the board altogether, tripped over the board, stabbed myself with the dart, I think. It's pretty bad. Lost everything through 2009 and 10, doing some really risky pre-development stuff, just trying to make it big quick.
But, my theory is, I guess not very similar and exactly the right, but I kind of tripped and fell 2008, 9, similar type of scenario. But my theory, right, is that either you fail early, right, learn your lessons, and then those lessons are less painful, which sounds like that's kind of what you went through, or you get lucky, you get lucky again, and then eventually everyone learns that lesson, and if we wait too long, it gets real painful, right? So anyway, I'm a big one door closes, three windows open believer. Sounds like something similar with you.
Yeah, and that's what it was. I think I thought I was, battered, bruised, beaten, and ego hit. I went back into I was still a successful engineer, right? So I got a master's in engineering after that. I got an MBA and went to a smaller company where I was a bigger fish, started winning again and realizing, man, I know that you need to invest. So where do I go? And I went back to learn how to invest like the tortoise and not the hare, not risk it all, lose it all. And I learned a little bit more about resilience in your portfolio and portfolio allocations, and started doing much better investments. And I think that's kind of what led me now to having an alternative investing mastery series, where It used to be that I was just trading the baseball cards of alternative investments with just a few dudes like you and a couple others, right? Where, we're just like, oh, I heard about this or I heard about that. Did you know you can invest in bourbon barrel cask or gold mining or, technology metals or, here's a parking lot. Here's a laundromat.
Yeah.
But nobody knows about those. I mean, I was working with some of the smartest people in the world and at some of the coolest companies, Facebook, Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing, J&J, Abbott, Genentech, and those guys had no idea there was anything more than just their 401k, maybe some Bitcoin stock market day trading. So decided to put a platform together to show my hand, not just the hand, but the whole deck. And you were one of the cards, right? And that's super important to share. And I did a bunch of single family residential stuff as I was early building my portfolio. And I never did tax liens and tax deeds, but it was always right there. I mean, I bought mostly from wholesalers or leads I got from contractors and stuff like that. But it was right there, very viable. I just had never pulled the trigger on it. So I wanted to make sure I represented that as one of the strategies.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate having me on and Angela and the other gentleman just talking. I think we had a really good conversation about the real side of the space. There's a lot of information out there about the theoretical side of the space. That was awesome. So but I don't because now you're the founder and CEO of Passing Investing Mastery. You've got this webinar series, Alternative Investing Mastery series. Can you tell us a little bit more about the types of things that you have? Obviously, I was on for the tax sale one, but what other types of stuff do you cover?
Well, so us as a company, our goal is to educate for our investors to achieve mastery in what we call the art of alternative investing, alternative passive investing. And so we do that through actually educating on our own deals, which we have debt funds and we have acquisitions funds, and we invest in the legal industry through diversified litigation portfolios, as well as all the other ones out there. And we've some of the kind of more interesting ones was how to buy a plane for cash flow, how to solve the 90,000 soon to be 500,000 deficiency we have in the pilot industry by investing in pilot education, weird things, how to alcohol bev, brand investing, how to do, let's see, there's been so many now, I'm just losing track, but we talk a lot about 401ks and IRAs, asset protection. We talk about laundromats, venture. We had an angel invest in philanthropy. So we're covering what all those are, what Reg A, Reg D is, what CFR, and how do you know what those are. We're covering one on how to do due diligence. We've done ATM funds, oil and gas, just a ton. I simply can't list them all for you.
Yeah. So what, and maybe you've already captured it, but what are one or two of your most memorable episodes, as far as something crazy you learned that you didn't know before?
Some of the coolest ones was the technology metals, and I'm a big precious metals guy. So I had the president of American Gold and Marigold, and I had the president of Technology Metals out of Scotland, and they were kind of dueling back and forth as to, and part of our allocation strategy is in precious metals. It's a good hedge against inflation, store of wealth. But then the dueling conversation between the technology metal investments, which you can literally just buy metals like vanadium and gallium, ones that are used in the semiconductor industry, which is riding along with the wave of the AI craze that's going on right now, the data centers, as well as the kind of the separation of China with the rest of the world, and how China has actually throttled back the provision to the West of some of these metals. And you can actually get 20-30% returns just by buying some of these technology metals. That was just a really fascinating one. We've done some on Bitcoin ownership. One of Forex trading, we had one of the founders that had been trading for 48 years on the floor. Another guy had been trading for 20 years, Forex trading, and talking about kind of a lot of the get-rich-quick schemes out there. on how Forex can be done algorithmically using AI, and how we've seen those fail again, and what are the tried and true strategies, the old school stuff that he used to do back in the day that still work today. And I thought that was fascinating too. There's just all of them. And I, being from a family of academics, like I obviously just love to learn. That's why I have this series, and it's why I did machine design, because every project was brand new every time. And my dad, had 3 doctorates, so I was a lifelong academic. So I just came from that. I just find all of it so fascinating. And when you can get passionate about something that also lends itself to financial well-being or financial health, then I think you've really aligned with a really good hobby. And so I challenge people to spend, take 10, 15 minutes a day, listen to a podcast like Brian's, go listen to educational webinars like ours, or find something every day, just while you're driving, while you're running. I run in the morning every morning, and I listen to educational content, Audible self-help, or TED Talks or something, to get some passive education every day. And then I do something active every week. I get on a live thing with other people, or I go physically or be around other people. And then you're going to get passionate about it. You're going to start learning about it, and you're going to build a tribe around you of other people that empower you and keep you accountable. And that's really the journey that I think people go. And when you can do that, not about football or yoga, or whatever it is, if you can do that about something that brings financial health, spend all your time working, making money. If you can make part of your hobby spending it wisely, investing it wisely, then I think you've really set yourself up for a happier and better quality, more secure life.
What's probably the best, most finesse explanation of like a good way to go about the thought process that I've heard, Patrick. That's awesome. Well, one of the things that I learned, right, as part of going through your webinar and podcast recording was, you guys have these 506c Reg D 506c funds that help folks partake in some of these things. Can you expand on those a little bit? What we got 2 or 3 of them? What each of them is about?
Yeah, so Passive Investing Mastery, we also sponsor funds that are in alignment, and then we have 2 real estate funds that are sisters to each other, I would say. We have a debt fund, which we call our income fund, because it's about steady Eddie cash flow. And then we have an acquisitions fund where we're acquiring commercial real estate, and both of which solve the need in the industry right now in commercial real estate, where it's taken a big hit, which means there's a lot of opportunity right now. Interest rates skyrocketed, the banks pulled back, which means that there's a void of debt, which means private credit. Just like in 2009 and 10, the banks were on the sidelines, private credit had a big resurgence. So we can now lend to operators that need more time and don't want out, but they just need help getting over the hump. We can lend on properties 12, 13, 14% that it used to be 6, 7, 8%. So it's a really unique time to be in debt. I normally wouldn't be in debt. So we have a diversified portfolio of loans, and investors can participate from 96-month, 1 year, or 3-year lockups, and liquidity options in different ranges. So it's really neat. But then if those same operators like, no, I actually want out, I need out. I mean, maybe it's because their operational reserves were hit during COVID delinquencies, or they didn't make their renovation budgets because payroll and material costs have inflated, or their insurance jumped up 20-30% a year, or 50% in some markets, which is crazy because of all the natural disasters we've hit, right? Or interest rates hit them, right? Which means they had a variable rate and they didn't, or the rate cap expired, or all of these things are unrelated to the fact that they have potentially a very good property, have a great property, and it's a performing asset. However, they're financially distressed, maybe in the asset that they want to sell or somewhere else, and they need to sell this asset to shore up something else. And so our acquisitions fund, they need or want out, you pounce in there, go quick, buy it in cash, and we're just doing an incredible job there. So is it really the 2 opportunistic funds in real estate, and then we have alternatives, and we educate, and we do completely different alternatives. Right now, legal funding or litigation finance is the coolest. Me, Brian, like I literally have like the Rolodex of 100 alts to choose from. And like litigation finance is one of the most coolest ones out there. I can go in a little bit why, but we're doing legal funding right now. And for my rate of reasons, it's just an incredibly attractive asset for any alternative investor that's like, man, stock market's just, I don't know, 11 out of the last 14 Fed rate hikes ended in a bust. What's going to happen? So a lot of uncertainty right now. Am I good with that? Do I want to ride this down, or do I want to pull some chips out right now and put it in a little bit different space that doesn't rise and fall with the stock market? Or real estate, man, commercial real estate really took a hit. Maybe a little taxed out on that. Residential has been high for a long time. Is that topped out? Do I want to diversify into something that I feel a little more certain about, right? And like the legal industry, like medical and like education, and like CPA firms and like plumbers and like HVAC, they're needed regardless of what's going on, right? Those are just what we call recession-resilient industries. They simply don't care what's happening to the stock market. You know, what's happening with gold, interest rates, oil and gas. They just don't care. They just go up. So you can access these markets, which is called non-correlated recession-resilient markets, because they don't correlate with everything else. You can build more stability. And that's why we're in the legal space. Interesting.
But yeah, that's well, you've mentioned several different investment strategies I had no clue about, but that is definitely one that I would have never even dreamed about, that is even accessible to somebody else that isn't in that space, you know, right in the middle of, you know, when that, you know, I'm assuming it's like class action type lawsuits that need to be well funded, right? And they don't necessarily have the cash in house, and how do you partake in that? That's really cool. Well, a couple of things I want to try, Patrick. Sorry, you're going to be a little bit of a guinea pig for me. I didn't necessarily prepare you for this. You mentioned that AI, you know, stuff, and that reminded me of one of my favorite, you know, podcasts I listen to on a regular basis called Acquired, and they do they basically follow, you know, business, you know, I'll say life cycles from like inception through where they're at today, right? And one of them was on Renaissance Technologies and how, in reality, you know, it was the first adopter of using AI in investing. And but we're going back to like the 80s, right? 80s, 90s is really where they were so far ahead of it becoming much more popular today. But the podcast Acquired has these things called carve-outs. That basically, what is something that they've learned or come across, you know, recently. And there's two hosts, and they that have nothing to do with the episode they just recorded, just something cool that they thought they wanted to share with the audience. And I kind of gave mine away, but I wanted to share, you know, if folks out there are looking for podcasts in that space, I would highly recommend the one called Acquired. And if you're engineer junkie like you, Patrick, and myself, there's one on Lockheed Martin that talks about some of the projects that they did in the 50s and 60s and 70s that were just like mind-boggling that they were doing those things. I guess, for example, you know, they talked about how the SR-71 Blackbird, what I've always think is one of the coolest jets ever, was really just a distraction of what was really going on in the background. So anyway, they dig into that quite a bit. So that would be my carve out. I talked for a little longer trying to give you some time to maybe think about a carve out you might have, and it can be totally unrelated, just something that you learned about, came across that you thought would be beneficial to everybody.
Well, so I'll be honest, I forgot the question. So I was listening to there's a Blackbird comment in there. I love the Blackbird. I'm an engineer, so I thought we were going to talk about that.
I distracted you. Sorry. Yeah.
But, sorry. What was one more time? What was the question? So
the leaders of that podcast do this thing called carve outs, right? And the carve outs are something random that each of the hosts or the guests, right, heard about, saw, used, right? It can be a gadget, it can be a watch, it can be whatever, right, that they learned about in the previous week or since the last episode, right, that they wanted to share with the audience. And so is there any carve outs that you've come across in the last couple of weeks that you think were just really cool and you wish you could tell everybody about it? And here's your chance to tell everybody. Okay, I'm going to list a couple of them. And this may be silly, but we just spent 6 weeks in China, and my wife bought me these glasses right here. These glasses, people think about Chinese products as like cheap, but and I've heard, I used to wear glasses. I have LASIK, right? And 100% everybody go get LASIK. But if you don't have it now,
but I used to have the ones that transition during the day and get darker, but I never thought about like sports glasses that do that. And I never thought about, protective glasses that do that. These glasses right here actually look completely clear right now, and they get completely dark. And so now I can go sailing, I can go running, like I'll run during the sunrise, and I'll go inside, and all day long they will be perfectly tinted for exactly what I need. And man, they've just totally changed my life here on the island, because I'll be in and out and the sun's real bright. We live here in Honolulu. So that's actually my latest geek. It was a gift from my wife. And so that's my latest geek thing. So, I mean, these are, I don't know, Bozapal, photochromatic, and they have like stylistic ones too. So kind of a goofy
watching, you can go Google it, see if you can find them. That's cool. That's cool. Well, yeah, I don't know if you can find them on Amazon. You can probably find them somewhere online, but cool. Well, I guess any other items and takeaways that you want to leave the audience with before we circle back another time?
Yeah, sure. So my book that I can offer for free if you'd like. I did a chapter in it with some other players. PassiveInvestingMastery.com/book is where you can go get it. That's the secret link. That's also where you can register for the webinar series, the Alternative Investing Mastery series that Brian was a guest on. You did an amazing job. Loved it. It's one of the best ones we did. And PassiveInvestingMastery.com/book. And make sure you put the names of this podcast in there. I don't send these out, but we do send them out. I sign them. We pay for them. We ship them for free to you. I tell my whole story in my chapter about the ups and downs, the losing it all, the making my way back to high tech, to all assets, and what we're doing at Passive Investing Mastery. There's other guys in there that did a chapter. At Phil Collin, lead guitar at Def Leppard, actual rock star. It was so much fun working with him. And a couple other like entrepreneurs, NBA, NFL players, coaches, just really neat stuff. Highly recommend jumping in there, PassiveInvestingMastery.com/book. It's my way of giving back to the community. And I hope that inspires you. That for me, I was a hardworking engineer, and now, I was able to break free of that. And it's pretty awesome. And if anybody wants to have a conversation, they're like, hey, look, I'm looking for more alternative ways to invest. Well, we just happen to be a company, and we've got a Rolodex of like 100 of them, and we've done like 30 deep dives, over 30 deep dives into some of our favorite ones. And I'd be happy to get you pointed in the right direction. So if you're interested, PassiveInvestingMastery.com, there's a calendar right there at the bottom of that page, and you can set up a time to chat. And regardless of where you're at in your journey, one of the things I love to do is just invest in others around this time. So feel free to set up a call, or just email me at patrick@PassiveInvestingMastery.com.
That's awesome. And we'll put the link down there for the folks that are watching this or listening and didn't write it down quick enough. Your website's a little bit like ours, like Tax Sale Resources. It's a long one. Well, Patrick, I greatly appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us some insight into all these different alternative investments I had no clue about. I hope to have you back sometime and give us some more insight. So thank you again.
Be here, Brian.